At 16, I mentioned a school dance at dinner, triggering my father's harsh reaction. This led to me confronting him about his past and coming out as gay. Picture this, a typical evening at home, the kind where everyone gathers around the dinner table to share stories of their day. I, a 16-year-old, excitedly mentioned being asked to my school's fall dance, envisioning a night of fun and laughter. However, the moment those words left my lips, the mood shifted. My father, a traditional man with old-fashioned views, reacted harshly, expressing his concern for my well-being. His comments about protecting me from boys came off as judgmental, insinuating that attending a dance could lead to questionable decisions. It was a stark reminder that sometimes, innocent excitement can clash with rigid parental expectations. The tension escalated as I, feeling cornered and misunderstood, decided to confront my dad. I brought up his past, his days as a frat boy, which, let's be honest, were probably filled with questionable choices of his own. With a mix of sarcasm and anger, I pointed out that my mother must have had no self-respect to marry him, provoking a bitter reaction. This comment struck a nerve, illuminating the painful cracks in our family structure. It was a classic case of conflict where I sought validation for my choices but ended up inadvertently calling into question my father's integrity. In that moment, the dinner table transformed into a battlefield of hurt feelings and harsh truths. The clash of perspectives highlighted the generational gap between us and the struggle for me to assert my independence while still seeking approval. With emotions running high, it was clear that this family dynamic needed an overhaul. Our relationship hung in the balance, leading to questions about understanding, acceptance, and the journey toward reconciliation, a theme that echoed deeply throughout my story, leaving readers curious about how this family would navigate the challenges ahead. In the heat of our ongoing argument, my mind raced with thoughts of my father's strictness and his alarming comments about teenage pregnancy. This wasn't just about a dance anymore, it was about my identity and the burden of expectations weighing down on my shoulders. In a moment of clarity, I realized that I wasn't interested in boys at all. I'm gay. Fueled by a mix of frustration and determination, I decided it was time to speak my truth. This revelation wasn't just a statement, it was a bold declaration that shocked my father, forcing him to confront a reality he'd been avoiding. When the words left my lips, the air thickened with tension. My father's initial response was awkward, a mix of confusion and discomfort. He attempted to make light of the situation with a hurtful joke about hormones, but it only deepened the chasm between us. His attempt at humor fell flat, revealing his struggle to process this new information. While he didn't react with hostility, his lack of understanding stung, leaving me feeling isolated and my vulnerability. It was a painful moment that highlighted the challenge of coming out, especially within a family dynamic steeped in traditional beliefs. The rift created by this revelation sent my father storming out of the house, leaving me grappling with a mix of relief and heartache. There was a sense of loss, as I realized that coming out, while liberating, could also lead to painful consequences. It was a turning point in our relationship, one that would require patience and understanding from both sides. As I navigated the complexities of my identity and my father's reaction, I was left wondering how this pivotal moment would shape our future interactions. The stakes were high, and the journey toward acceptance was just beginning. Time has a way of softening even the hardest hearts, and as days passed, I reflected on my relationship with my father. Despite the awkward tension that lingered, I found myself craving some connection, a bridge to mend the rift that had formed. In a surprisingly lighthearted moment, I decided to reach out. A well-timed joke about his frat boy days served as a gentle reminder of our shared history. Humor, after all, can be a powerful tool for healing, even when emotions run high. It's a way to diffuse the tension and ease into a conversation that feels daunting. As we shared a laugh, I watched my father's expression shift. His rigid demeanor began to thaw as we reminisced about the past, those silly antics he thought were long buried. It was almost comforting to see him relax, revealing a side of him that I had missed. Slowly, the barriers of misunderstanding started to crumble, creating space for acceptance. My father may not fully grasp the intricacies of my identity just yet, but in that moment, he was trying, and that effort meant the world to me. It was a reminder that while love may falter in the face of fear, it can also find its way back through laughter and shared memories. However, the path to complete acceptance wasn't straightforward. My father's attempts to understand LGBTQ+ issues came with stumbling blocks and missteps. Though he began to embrace my truth, there were still moments of discomfort. The journey toward acceptance was ongoing, requiring patience and a willingness to learn. Our bond, while growing stronger, also reminded me that understanding doesn't happen overnight. Just as I learned to navigate my identity, he had to navigate the complexities of accepting it. As we continued to find humor in our conversations, it became evident that while the road might be long, the journey was worth every step. In the midst of family dynamics shifting, I felt a pressing urge to stand up for my stay-at-home mom. The recent tension at the dinner table resonated in my mind as I recalled my father belittling my mother's contributions. It wasn't just about financial value, it was about the invisible labor that held our family together. I understood that many underestimate the role of a stay-at-home parent, often overlooking the countless tasks that weave the fabric of family life. It was a struggle I knew well, and I was determined to shine a light on it, ensuring my mother received the recognition she deserved. To illustrate my point, I tapped into my creativity, crafting a PowerPoint presentation that was equal parts sarcastic and enlightening. With each slide, I meticulously outlined the economic value of my mom's unpaid labor, everything from childcare to cooking, cleaning, and organizing family life. I humorously estimated the annual worth of my mother's work at around $190,000. It was a bold move, but one that reflected the seriousness of my message. By presenting it this way, I hoped to capture my father's attention and make him realize the impact of my mother's role within the household. After all, it wasn't just about numbers, it was about respect and acknowledgement for the hard work that often goes unnoticed. As I unveiled my findings, I saw a flicker of realization in my father's eyes. It was a mix of surprise and contemplation, a moment where the truth began to resonate. Though the data might have seemed shocking, the real impact lay in the narrative behind it, the sleepless nights, the endless chores, the emotional labor. This was about advocating for a woman who had given her all for our family, often at the cost of her own aspirations. While the presentation served as a wake-up call, it was also a heartfelt reminder of the sacrifices mothers make. As we navigated this conversation, I knew that our journey toward understanding the value of each family member was just beginning. As I continued to navigate the evolving family landscape, I noticed a gradual improvement in my relationship with my father. No longer just a source of tension, our interactions started to incorporate a new layer of understanding. It was like watching the sun peek through the clouds after a storm. We both wanted to bridge the gap, but there was still work to be done. I realized that this newfound communication was a vital step toward healing, not just for me but for our entire family. We may not have seen eye to eye on everything, but the desire for connection was there, and that's something worth nurturing. Despite the positive changes with my dad, I remained fiercely protective of my mother. I understood that my mom endured my father's financial criticisms in silence, often sacrificing her voice for the sake of family peace. This realization fueled my advocacy for her. I knew that acknowledging my mother's contributions went beyond just the numbers, it was about restoring her dignity and ensuring she felt valued. The more I pushed for my mother's recognition, the more I understood the weight of societal expectations placed on women. It was a heavy burden, one that my mom carried quietly, and it was time for the family to lift that weight together. I continued to press my dad, encouraging him to recognize my mom's worth beyond financial contributions. It wasn't just about how much money she brought in, it was about the love, support, and stability she provided. By openly discussing the emotional and practical value of my mom's role, I challenged my dad to rethink his views. We were on the verge of a breakthrough, and while it might take time, I believed we could reach a place of mutual respect. It was an ongoing dialogue, one that opened the door for deeper conversations about family dynamics and gender roles. As we tread this new path, I knew the journey of understanding and acceptance was far from over. Now that you've journeyed through the trials and tribulations of my stand against family norms, it's time to reflect on your own life. How often do we let the voices of others drown out our own self-worth? Are you willing to challenge the status quo, whether in your family, workplace, or community? Remember, standing up for what's right, whether for yourself or someone else, can be daunting, but it's a path worth taking. Ask yourself, what boundaries are you willing to push? How can you show appreciation for the hard work of those around you? As you ponder these questions, don't forget to apply the lessons learned here. Share your insights, start those tough conversations, and advocate for those who might not have a voice. If you found value in this journey, consider subscribing to the channel and activating notifications. Let's continue exploring these important topics together, ensuring that we're always growing and learning. Your voice matters, let it be heard. Enjoyed the story? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss new content. Share your thoughts and ideas in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think and what you'd like to see next. And if you want to keep watching more videos like this one, just click on the next video. See you there.